Hello everyone, welcome to the online video presentation for Group 3. My name is Mayuk Banerjee, roll number 21EE10092, and let's jump straight into the code. Let's start with the code. As we can see, initially we are just importing all the necessary dependencies and then checking if CUDA is available, then we set it to CUDA LCPU. In our case, this should be CUDA because we are using the Collab GPU, 15 GBs of the free one. Next, yep, it's CUDA. Next, we can see here, this is a label mapping function. In our case, it's a binary classification problem of 0 and 1. So we have got two labels, as we'll see further in the code. So, and we just map each label to its indices. This is simply a mapping function. Nothing much to say here. All right. So next part is the dataset. So in our case, we are just using a standard MNIST handwritten digit dataset, and our labels will be just zeros and ones. So that's why we are just using this filter labels to get only those images which are zeros and ones, and then we are just doing a random split for the train, valid, and test. So I will just go ahead and run these two cells once again, so that we just get see. Yep. So we get so this is the basic of the split is somewhere around like 2:2:10, 2.1:2.6, something like that. Next, what we want to do is we want to see how the model performs whenever we give it an ambiguous image, which is not exactly a 0 or a 1. Let's say this example. This is some part of a 0, some part of a 1. So that's why what we do is we take individual pairs of images. One will be 0 and other will be a 1. And we interpolate between those two, like somewhere in the middle. So some percent of the image of a 1, some percent of the image of a 0. And then we blend the two and make it into another image, which is not exactly a 1, neither a 0. And then we want to test the model, like how it performs, what is its accuracy, and how does it classify it as a 0 or a 1. So this is what we are doing in this part, and this is basically a sample of our interpolated data set. All right, now let's come to the model. So in our case, we are just using a linear model, which is one of the best for predicting. All right, let's come to the model. In our case, we are using a linear model, which is the best for predicting numbers between zeros and ones, like handwritten digits. So the default number of classes is 10, but in our case, it will be like 2 zeros and ones. Okay. So here are the different layers of the model. We are having 2 convolutional layers, 3 fully connected layers, and then the max pooling layer. And for each of the layers, we can just see the activation functions over here. Now just go ahead and oh, I forgot to run this one. Let's run this part. Let's regenerate this once again. Yep, it's fine. Let's model. Next, we come to some of the functions and the calculations which we will need throughout our training and testing phases. So these are I named it as the training utils. So these are the utility functions. So first of them is the compute accuracy of the model based on the data, which is pretty self-explanatory. And then we have a function to just obtain a random sample. So it just converts the data loader, the train loader and the test loader into a iterator, Python iterator, and then we just move next, and we just get samples. Then we have a probability calculating function. We calculate the probabilities of for various models, since we are using an ensemble, right? So we need to calculate the probabilities of each model and the average probabilities. And finally, we have the main function, which is the visualization of the entropy. So this is nothing but the average entropy across versus the weights, the test weights which we just generated earlier. And one more is the ensemble accuracy. Yeah, so this is these two are like the final two things. One is for visualizing the entropy, and then this one is to get the accuracy of across all the models. This will just compute the average accuracy. So we can see that it's nothing but the average accuracy of all the models. Now we once again load the MNIST dataset, but this time we take all the digits which we had not taken, basically 2 to 9. And what we will do is we will randomly crop the images or we will like pad it with some pixels. So what we are doing is we are introducing perturbations in the training dataset. What this does is this makes the model more resilient to like minor changes in the input images. Now just what is left is training the model on this perturbation dataset. So what we are actually doing is we are just penalizing the further models. Let's say it's not the first one, from the second or third. We're penalizing the models if we get results which are like close to the first model. So that's why we are using a custom loss function. This is known as the divergence loss. So this is the basic the formula, nothing else, and it's simply the forward pass and backward pass and freeing the gradients. And this is the training loop, and we're just logging and tracking along the way. Uh, so finally, we are just running the model 5 times, which is the ensemble, and just checking how we are getting like diverse results or like what is the uncertainty about the entropy. So this is the final part. Here we just train the model and just get our entropy values and print the entropy versus the uh, weights which we obtain. So this is the training process. Let's just quickly train a model. This should be done. Yep, so we can see like the model 1, the train loss, the diversity loss, and the accuracy currently. Accuracy is like it's between 0 to 1. It's like accuracy by 100, we can say. So I will cut to when the training process is over. Alright, so our training process is done, and we can see like it's performing with very high accuracy. Actually, the model is overfitting. That's the problem over here. So we can see the statistics of the ensemble accuracy. It's a Gaussian distribution with a standard deviation of 0.0002 and with a mean around 0.9, like 99.88% it's accurate. So this is the uncertainty. Like the uncertainty is, I mean, the randomness is very less. Like it's almost, like it's almost perfect. That's what the problem is.
Hello everyone, my name is Amisha Sinha and I will be showing you the demonstration for Bayesian method. So basically we are going to follow the approach of tracking deep neural network weight distributions for the estimation of uncertainty. So I have to use my drive here because I will be using some dataset which I have uploaded in my drive, so it will help us in accessing those. So I'm doing all the necessary imports in this cell. After that, I am deleting the previous results and the dataset that were downloaded for a fresh start. So these are the device and parameter specification. I'm using CPU as a device here. We can also go for GPU. That is use CUDA for better efficiency, but because of limited GPU availability, we are going for CPU. The batch size is defined here as 128. The number of epochs, that means training sets are 10. Data size for each training is 4000. Learning rate is 10 to the power minus 3. Predicate is this. And similarly, these are all parameters. We are going to use seed because seed helps in reproducing same set of numbers again and again. This class is used for getting the data set from folders only. These are the basic specifications for the deep neural network. We are using 28 cross 28 images and 3 layers of deep neural network, which is having 200 neurons in each. We are defining the number of classes here. And the transform, we are using transform to do the normalization basically for mean and variance. This is helping us in downloading the MNIST dataset, which is the standard dataset for image classification. We are also using not MNIST dataset, like we have a set of images only, which I'm using from my drive here. It contains 2 folders, data 1 and data 2, and we will load the data from here for non-MNIST dataset. Uh, so here we have defined a function. This lesbian function we will use for collecting all the batch normalization layers and prepare new model. This prepare new model and prepare var model. This function are basically going to transform the parameters of this Kalman model with our reference model. Like in accordance with the reference model, we are going to manage the parameters of Kalman model. These classes are used for reshaping our input tensor in forward pass. Forward pass basically means preparing our data for further processing in the models. So this is the model initialization, our hidden layers, and we are getting the mean and variance initialized for them. And we are using optimizer, Adam optimizer as our optimizer, and we are calling our learning rate function here to set set the step of learning rate as 10. Like it will get changed after that only again and again gamma. So then we are updating the parameters of the models using a Kalman filter. So the mechanism of Kalman filter is explained in detail later. These are our training and testing functions. Like this will help in training our model, and we are giving some initial mu and variances, and after retraining, we are getting the updated set of like posterior parameters. The testing function, we are plotting the accuracy like after each testing set. So we are getting this with our accuracy versus the average loss graph. So how the accuracy is varying with the loss. So it is like for every epoch, it is giving our test set as some average loss value or accuracy value. After our training is finished, we are calling this function load full rate Kelvin later. So this is still running for the evaluation. Like basically at last we will see the plots for not MNIST and MNIST. So we are doing the analysis for like out of distribution bounds in not MNIST and in distribution data for the MNIST. So these plots will help us in visualizing how these data are changing. Also, I would like to highlight an important point like we are using random optimizer. It helps in adjusting the learning rate for parameters. So this evaluation will take time. So let's wait for a while. So the comparison for not MNIST and MNIST is done. We can see the histograms here. So this is the histogram of MNIST and this is the histogram of not MNIST. So they are basically plotting the frequency of distribution in y-axis with the versus the confidence score in the x-axis, which is normalized to 0 to 1. So for MNIST in distribution, we can see that most of the data is concentrated around 1. So it is like it is having more confidence that yes, this data set belongs to in distribution. But whereas in not MNIST, it is not concentrated around higher distribution. It is like somewhat kind of like a uniform weightage around of 0.2 to 1. So it is not very sure that it is belonging to that distribution or not. Like it is not very sure about out of distribution in non-MNIST dataset. So one of the major point that I'd like to cover, yeah, that was about Kalman filter. So we have used their Kalman filter to basically take into account the noise measurements. So it basically means that we are using some recursive algorithm of a filter to estimate the internal state for the system. So how noise is affecting that, we are looking overall like that, what is happening to this. So okay, this was it for Bayesian method, and you must have seen the demonstration for ensemble one. So Basically, it was somewhat like the model was overfitting there. And here we can see that the model is more confidence for in distribution in case of MNIST rather than that of for out of distribution in non-MNIST. Thank you.